Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time to put away the umbrellas and come on inside. That's right, it's time for John Perrotta's Comedy Factory Chat Zoom Alooza, sponsored in part by Mapo. And now, the man who can spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious both frontwards and backwards, your host, John Perrotta.
Thanks to Mike Cronin, the bad boy of comedy. Well, Mike, in the early 90s, had a character. He had long hair, used to wear a suit jacket with a cartoon shirt. And then he wound up getting into religious comedy later on. And he started Laughter and Hope with Tommy Moore, and they book a lot of shows, do churches and all kind of stuff. So, Mike, thanks for coming on. Marv, we got a great guest tonight, great panel. Marv, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing excellent, John. How are you, buddy?
Good. We got Nick Yousiff, my man from Boston. How you doing, Nick?
Doing well, John. Good to see you. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you. We got Desi Cab, who took our comedy class. How you doing, Desi? Desi's frozen. Desi, are you there?
I'm doing great, John. How are you?
Good. Your picture's frozen. There you are. Now you're there. All right, Desi, I've known this girl since 91. Worked with her brother and her for many, many years. Very funny. Been on Comedy Central. Coleen Galvin. Coleen, how you doing, Coleen?
Hi, kids. Good. I'm doing really good.
That's good. And so here we are, the Comedy Factory Comedy Chat. And I'm speechless tonight. I don't have much to say. Quiet day. I had a nice Italian grinder today. I'm trying. I lost 64 pounds. When the pandemic hit, I was on a shake diet, protein bars. I was killing it. The pandemic hit. I started going to the refrigerator. I started going to Dave's Market. I started buying grape nut pudding with whipped cream and all this other kind of stuff, Twinkies. And I gained about 25 pounds back. So I need this pandemic to go away. Because if it doesn't, I'm going to probably gain 400 pounds. That's what's going on. So, I hope it goes away. I miss performance, stand-up comedy. Did it for 29 years. The last time I was on stage was March 15th. A lot of the comics I know were starting different Zoom things, either shows and my type of act. I work the audience, so I figured maybe a Zoom talk show, kind of Zoom comedy talk show where we kind of all see how everybody's doing, talk a little bit about whatever's on your mind, whatever you got going on, future projects, anything like that. So that's why we're here. And Marv's going to kick it off. He's got LOL Saturdays. I know you got one coming up July 25th. Did one recently. Does a Zoom comedy show. Tell us about that, Marv. Tell us about that.
Well, the beautiful thing about it is I incorporate both aspects. Comics say the best of both worlds because I shoot it right here at my theater, and so all the comics are right here. They all perform in front of the LOL Saturday sign. We broadcast it on Zoom, and we do have a small audience, less than 20 people here. So it feels like a real comedy show to the guys. And that was the one thing that all the comics said, that they loved it because it was a real comedy show. So we're really looking forward to the next one on July 25th.
Tell us about the theater. I know you got involved in that theater. It's been a year and a half, 2 years that you got involved. I remember when that came out, I saw it in the paper. And how did you get into that? I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I actually manage this property here located on Main Street in Woonsocket, and it consists of the theater, which I'm in right now, the nightclub, which is going to be Marv's Comedy Club, that's on the floor below, and there are several other entities that's going on here as well. Like we have a housing that's going to be all artist housing, things like that. So we have big plans for this location here.
Wow,
the
that's
pandemic
great.
Popping up slowed things down, but hopefully things will end and we can get things back on track.
Yeah, but you're giving comics an opportunity to get up. But right now, there's not much. There's some open mics going. Comedy Connections doing weekends, smaller crowds. Some of the clubs in Boston are doing under a tent. They can't do inside yet. So it's good that you're doing that. You're giving comics the opportunity to get up and perform. Right now, there's not much of that, you know.
Yep.
There's not much
Thank
of
you.
that.
Thank you. Yep.
We wish you the best of luck, Ma. We'll be talking.
Thank you, man.
We got Nick Yousiff, my buddy Nick, I've known for a long time, and he's an attorney out in
That's
Boston.
Right. That's
and,
right.
Gave me some legal advice once. It was too late, but he gave me some legal advice.
John, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I felt like, the first time we met, I was in law school, and that's when I was getting into comedy. And let me tell you, I hated law school like you wouldn't believe. It was so boring, so one-dimensional. And I think just being in my early 20s, I just wanted something that was a better outlet. So I started getting into comedy and started writing some material, and I was so lucky enough to meet you, John. And I've always told you, had I not met you, John, I don't know if I would have gotten into comedy, because you gave me the first real stage to perform. But when we met, I think when I told you I was in law and becoming a lawyer, I think you looked at me and was like, you know what? I don't care if this kid sucks. I'm going to pick this kid's brain. Who cares? He can stick up the joint. If he can give me some free legal advice, I'll take it.
Get you pegged, John.
John's like, he'll get me out of trouble. He'll give me some good sage advice, and this will work out. But
I've been through a lot of lawyers in my time. A lot of lawyers. When I got divorced the second time, my second wife, she had one lawyer, and he was tough. I went through about 6. The first time I got divorced, I swear to God, I'm in the courtroom. I don't want to say the guy's name. He's passed away now. I got this lawyer. He must have been in his 80s when I got him. Got in the courtroom. We're in the courtroom. He fell asleep. My divorce attorney fell asleep. I'll never forget it. I'm in the courtroom. They're nudging him. We gotta wake up. This guy's gonna get killed over here. I got a sleeping attorney. You don't fall asleep in court, do you, Nick?
No, the good news is the anxiety of the job always keeps me awake. I don't even need to drink coffee. So, but it was funny because John actually helped me figure out what kind of law I wanted to do, because I was rattling off some different ideas. He's like, I could use that. I could use that. I could use that.
And you opened, you did, was it the Wing Theater? There was a theater in Boston. I know you opened
the Wilbur.
The Wilbur. Who did you open for?
I opened for a Middle Eastern comic named Nimmer. A lot of American people know who he is if they're of Middle Eastern or Arab background, but he's actually like one of the forefathers of bringing live comedy not just to Lebanon or to some parts, but to the entire Middle East and the entire world. So, the Lebanese and Middle Eastern diaspora is all over the entire globe. And, a culture that's relatively conservative. We don't have comedy, comedy is, my life is a joke. It's okay, this is a comedy, So to be able to have a guy to put a set together and to bring another form of entertainment is great. And, silly me, I thought I could get regular Middle Eastern people here in Boston and excited to go to comedy shows, but they're used to going to belly dancing shows, smoking hookah, and listening to music. So when you have to follow that, they're like, get this guy off the stage. You suck. So he's really helped a lot of us reach out to the population. But yeah, so I got the opportunity to open for him, and it was great because, as you know, when I did my set, it was kind of doing it from an American perspective, but then to now play a show, because most of the people that would go to the Comedy Factory or the Rhode Island shows, Comedy Connection, it's typical American people. We didn't get a lot of Arab people, so I did a set that I thought that American people would enjoy. So I had to flip back and do a show that Arab people would enjoy. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool. And you're working on you're involved in a play too now, you said?
Yeah. So I took a couple years ago, I got to play the Iron Sheik in a Pulitzer Prize nominated play called The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity. So it talked about how, minorities played the bad guys. And if you think about it, Hulk Hogan was the hero, the Iron Sheik was the bad guy. He was from Iran. He was, although he always knew how to play the crowd so that he wouldn't get killed. My intelligent American friends, I'm going to kill the Hulk Hogan. So he kind of knew how to toe that line, but still be a bad guy. So, we do that. We have an African-American fellow, we have a Mexican fellow, and then we have myself who plays the Middle Eastern Indian guy. And of course we go through it, but it was a fun play, man. I had a real wrestling coach. I had to get in shape, and I had a lot of lines that it's hard to do a comedy. Yeah, it's hard to do a parody play because when you tell jokes, when you're a comic, you play to the crowd. And when people laugh, you want to play to that and you keep going. But when you're in a play, you have to shut up and let staging and lighting and let your co-actors know their cues because you can't talk over them and you can't just improv. So that was really hard to kind of just shut up when I knew I was on a roll and let the spotlight shift.
And you just did a commercial too, you said, right? Was it today?
Yeah, doing a commercial. So I've done a lot of commercial work for a lot of biotech companies. I did one for Foxwoods. I just did one for a company called Neoscape that does green screen for a lot of companies that want to do commercials. So I did a commercial for a company that does commercials.
You're keeping busy out there. You're keeping
I'm trying,
busy.
man. When I was doing when we were allowed to have audiences, I was emceeing fashion shows, and that's kind of how I got into doing commercial work. So just a great way of how, comics, and I want to encourage other comics. Hey, Coleen is so beautiful. I mean, Coleen could be in a fashion show. Coleen could do commercial work, but they're not casting roles the way that they used to. If you're eccentric, if you've got a great voice, there are so many great voice actors, even in Boston. I mean, John, you could be cast in a million different things. Marvin, Mike, Desi, I'm just meeting you now, but look, you've got the ethnic thing going, so I'm sure there's a lot of different things that you could do. So just trying to figure out how to use your funny background into getting into acting and commercial work. And let me tell you, that stuff pays, and it pays on the spot. So it definitely is worthwhile.
I auditioned for a few.
Comic.
Yeah, I auditioned for a few commercials, but I can do comedy.
You were too handsome.
I'm not a good actor. I don't know.
Too handsome. Too handsome.
But I had an Italian sandwich. This Italian sandwich is really good from D'Angelo's.
I could do commercials for a deli. I could do commercials. Great talking. Desi Cab is here. Desi, funny girl. I've been telling her to take our comedy class, get into comedy. She finally took the class. She got on stage. She was hilarious. And then the pandemic hit. I was trying to get her back up. Because you're very funny, Desi. I've known you for a while, and you came to the milestone one night. I brought like 20 of our friends, and we were doing the milestone. But you're hilarious. You're hilarious. We just got to get you on stage again.
I know. I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, before working with you and Coleen and Joe in the class, my comedy routines were anybody that made eye contact with me. Anytime they did that, they knew they were hooked in for about 30 minutes. I used to tell them, I own you now.
You're very funny.
It's a clean show, right? I can't use other than, regular words. None of our favorite words, right?
Yeah, you could swear a little, but we don't want to get too crazy.
Yes, swear, but not swear like Coleen.
Desi's going to be, we'll get you back when this thing gets going again. I'll talk you into it. You're a hard sell. But when you get on stage, though, you make people laugh. You got a good character, and you get going. You're fast and you're funny. You do a good job.
Well, I appreciate what your friend was Nick saying too. I mean, I've got a lot of voices in my head, and they are different ethnicities. But the one I always revert to is, the Arab one. My daughter. You can't help but revert back to your roots. Exactly.
Now, what nationality are you, Desi?
I'm Lebanese.
You're Lebanese.
Proud U.S. citizen. Yes, but Lebanese.
Oh, that makes two of us. Oh, we're like a disease. You got to kill us before we spread, okay?
We'll get you in a play. We'll get you in Nick's play.
There you go.
Sure.
John, I have a question for you. You were talking about, utilizing him as an attorney, and then you said something. I just want some clarification on. Were you divorced 6 times, or did you need 6 attorneys?
No. I got divorced
Very
twice.
close, Desi. Very close.
The first time I got divorced, my lawyer fell asleep in the courtroom, and we woke him up, and I still lost. The second time I got divorced, I went through 6 lawyers. She had the same lawyer. He was killing me. I didn't like any of my lawyers. I didn't know Nick. I went from one lawyer. I fired that one. I went to the next one. I owed all these lawyers money. They were all calling me. It was nuts. I had a minor drinking problem at the time, and just Coleen. I don't drink anymore, but we got Coleen Galvin Yeroshenko.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right, Coleen?
You're a shank hoe. Yeah.
Yeroshenko.
Like, you're gonna go shank a hoe. Yeah.
Now, I
married him just. Yeah. I go by Galvin for comedy reasons, but when I was married before, and I kind of figured that if I'm going to attain any success, it's not going to be with my ex-husband's last name. So I kept Galvin because people knew me as Galvin, and Yeroshenko is just like a Benny. It's just like a bonus. I love to say that. Yeroshenko.
I met Coleen in like probably 91 with Brother Eddie. I got involved with him. We did a lot of Coleen, Eddie, and we've done tons of shows through the years. No.
Drinking.
Drinking, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a nice picture of when I got inducted in the Hall of Fame. You and Stephanie Peters giving me a big hug.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie's going to be, we'll say a prayer for her. She's having surgery, I think July 24th.
July 24th, yeah.
Yeah, she
has kidney cancer.
Kidney cancer, yeah. So God willing, she'll be our best wishes to Stephanie.
Yeah, she's in good spirits, and she's one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. So
Stephanie,
send good energy out for her.
Yeah, Stephanie, hilarious. Whenever I booked to the headline, without fail, she would destroy the room.
She married us. She performed our wedding ceremony.
You and Yuri?
Yeah. I got her ordained online so that she could do our wedding ceremony. Hilarious. Actually, she pulled this out of her boobs. You know how she does a sandwich? She pulled this out of her boobs. The ring is inside.
Are you serious?
Yeah. This is Stephanie Peters' boobs. Yeah.
Now, Coleen.
We talked about it because
the story about me and Coleen. Coleen married my daughter. You married my daughter and her husband, Tyler.
Yep.
That was last year in September, and she did an awesome job. She made it funny. She made it personal, and I've known her so long. It was just awesome, and also Terry, was my second wife and my third wife, and that's a whole another story. But when we got remarried, when we got married the second time, Coleen in our living room married us. So Colleen's got a big part of my life.
Wait. Can we get a little more backstory to that? How does that even happen? So, because listen, I do divorce and I've never heard of this. So educate me, please.
Oh yeah, it's a thing.
I got married and divorced.
Terry's a saint.
Terry is
a saint.
And then I got remarried the second time, and I drove her nuts for many years. And then we got separated, and then we got divorced. And long story, she came down with two rare lung diseases. She needed a double lung transplant. And I came back because I'm a nice guy. I come back to help her. I moved back in. My kids were teenagers. It was tough. And in 2012, I drove her out to the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. She had an oxygen machine, oxygen tanks, and she needed to get on the list for a double lung transplant. And by November, they put her on the list. By January, she was in Rhode Island Hospital, and she went into a coma. They put her on ECMO life support, and they told me she had, they flew her out to the Cleveland Clinic. They said she had 7 to 10 days to live. So she needed a double lung transplant. The doctor said there was a 2% chance of survival. So a week goes by. They tell me they got to take her off the life support the next day. So, the phone rings 2:30 in the morning, Nick. I figured that's it. She passed away. They told me, unfortunately, someone passed away. Miraculously, it was a perfect match to Terry. They operated in the morning. They saved her life. And 7.5 years later, she's still here. And we wound up getting remarried a couple of years back. And it's a whole crazy story. That could be a whole show in itself.
Wait, so if I hear you, that was very heartwarming. If I hear you correctly, what you're telling me is Terry cheated death and married you multiple times.
Right.
Yes.
John,
playing with fire.
John, how good are you at making love? I mean,
let me tell you.
Because
all right. So can I tell a story? I was told by an ex-girlfriend of John's who was drinking at a New Year's Eve party. It was a New Year's Eve show, and she goes,
"We need it.
I love fucking John. He's hung like a donkey." And I'm like, I just didn't want to know that. John's like my brother. I didn't want to know that. So like so now our whole relationship is tainted where I have to leave room for the Holy Spirit because like he's hung like a donkey, and I just you never know.
Right. Yep.
Hey, John, let's have a little context.
Oh, that's a true story. That's a true story.
So I've been married 3 times, Nick, twice to the same woman. That makes my actor. That's why I'm so crazy. When I get on stage, I've been through all this stuff. Lawyers, I've been through it all, Mom.
John, hold on. You're not going to confirm whether Coleen is right or not? Like,
I never said it personally.
I ain't going there.
This is how you know his kids are gonna watch this. This is how you know.
She's my sister.
Oh, I've already told Gina, his daughter. I've already told her.
Oh my God!
You told his daughter?
Of course.
Oh my
Tell
God!
my daughter that story.
Oh.
Did you ever tell?
I didn't say who it was.
I gotta get.
I need some more. I need some more seltzer.
Let's go to Mike Cronin for a minute. Mike, what's going
Bring
on?
it back.
Bro?
Bring it back,
Mike Cronin, Laughter and Hope Ministries, comedy shows, Christian churches all over. What do you got to make of this?
Okay, that's a great transition. Can I just say from this to?
Yep.
Exactly.
Very seamless.
Colleen, that's exactly what I'm thinking. My comedic muscles right now are bulging everywhere. We went from divorcing.
Are you saying, oh God, oh God?
I'm like, oh my goodness. We're talking about Holy Toledo. I mean,
that's his name. Holy Toledo.
I mean, like, here I am. The highlight of my day was I buy a vacuum cleaner, some assembly required. I put it together. They forget the crevice tool. I'm thinking to myself, 1, what's a crevice tool? 2, why would they name it a crevice tool? Because when you think crevice, I'm thinking personal body parts. I'm thinking of a plumber kneeling down at my kitchen sink. That's a crevice. And now Colleen takes us right to John Perrotta's personal anatomy.
You're welcome.
His crevice tool. John's crevice tool.
Yes, you're welcome.
That was just
my gift.
That was some.
John, you're gonna get a couple friend requests tomorrow.
Good stuff.
What's that, Mom? What'd you say, Mom?
You're gonna get a couple new friend requests tomorrow. Watch.
I've never seen John so red. I've never seen John so red in the face.
Colleen, you're killing me. You're killing me, man. Let's talk about you making hats. Colleen makes hats. Let's go to that. That's a more.
I make hats. I work with an organization in the Boston area called Love Life Now. Every year they do a Derby party that corresponds with the Kentucky Derby, and I know Nick actually is part of the Boston fashion scene. They actually have a European Boston fashion group. My daughter modeled in a couple of shows that you actually hosted. That's why, right. Yeah. So I'm sometimes I'm a judge in the for the event, but we're also a sponsor, and it's Love Life Now is the organization that is benefited by the charity, and they help provide education and different kinds of supports for survivors of domestic violence. So if you get a chance, it's called Love Life Now, and I'm not like trying to like pimp it out, but I am. It's just such an awesome organization, and it's changed so many people's lives. So that's what I do the Derby stuff, the hats for. I took a painting. Yeah, I took a painting. When did all of you do this? Like you're like, oh, now I have time to write that novel. I'm gonna do law school online. Yeah, no, like I started to do that, and then after a week, I'm like, I'm just gonna eat Cheez-Its and watch Netflix. So, but I just I have like literally that's all I did. But I did start doing some painting, so that was kind of that's been my thing. It keeps me sane when I get aggravated by everything that's going on. We're not supposed to talk about it, but everything that's going on, and it keeps me sane when I go on social media and I see things and I'm like, I just want to look at pictures of cats and I want to do nice things. So
Coleen, the last few years, her, myself, and Rock and Joe Hebert have taught a comedy course. We helped a lot of new comics like Desi and comics get involved in the comedy scene. We had a lot of fun. I think we taught about four courses. We were going to do one in September, but now with the virus going on, we just...
I think we should Zoom a class, because I have gotten a couple of requests to actually do for advanced comics, because what I do is I audit material, and I've been asked by a couple of comedians to actually do like an advanced class as opposed to the where I can take apart the material and edit.
We'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, but if anybody's interested in doing a Zoom class, a comedy class, and you see this video, contact John. If you're one of my friends, message me, and because if we get enough interest, I think a Zoom class would be awesome. I never want to go out again. I'm serious.
You haven't been going out much, Carl?
No. Why would I? The liquor stores deliver, and I'm living my best life. Like, come on.
You're all set. You work from home.
I work from home.
So you don't have to go out.
I don't have to, ever. We did actually buy land though in Charlestown, so we're going to be building a house next year. So that's so. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be moving myself and my stuff from here to there. So I still won't be going out.
So you're afraid of the virus like me, right?
Nah, I just don't like people. And I can't threaten to stab them because that violates that social distancing thing. I gotta figure out how to tape a knife to like a big stick, and bayonet that.
You might get some support from John on those kinds of things.
Hilarious, but oh.
Colleen's crazy. Marv, I don't know what do you make of all this, Marv?
Oh man, I don't know, John, but I don't know if I told you, I've been working on some songs, and there's one song, because I've been, with all this time that I have on my hand, I've been doing a little singing. So let me let y'all hear a little something of what I've been working on. All right, check it out. Check this out. Take your clothes off as soon as you walk into the room. That's all I have right now. You know what? When I finish writing it, I could write parts in for all of you guys because it's gonna be a little rapping, a little, couple things.
My son does a rap every week.
A little piece on that jam. Let me know. All right.
My son's a rapper. He puts a rap on every week on a video. He puts it on YouTube.
Really?
He does pretty good. Now, the first time I met Marv was at the Pub on Park, open mic. He came down one Monday night, and he told me he had done comedy in the 90s. Was it the 90s? You did?
Yeah, I started in the 90s, yep.
And who did you work with back then? You were telling me some of the guys you worked with.
Oh, man. I opened up for Mike Epps, Joe Torre. I actually, as a promoter, I was a promoter for 10 years before I even got into comedy. And I actually brought the Def Comedy Jam to Boston several times.
Whoa,
Oh, wow.
that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it was funny. I brought Kid Capri, their DJ, also to Boston just to DJ parties and things like that. So he invited me to New York for a live taping of the Def Comedy Jam. And the way they do it, they would record the entire season in like a week. So they'd have hundreds and hundreds of comedians come in and they'd shoot like 8-9 shows a day. And after one of the shootings,
Wow.
We were all hanging out in this lobby and there were all the comics there, and every comic that I talked to was asking me, how long have you been doing comedy? And I after like 2 or 3 times of saying, I'm not a comedian, something just made my blood boil when I said it. And I didn't know why it felt so, it was like something was saying, stop saying that. You know what I mean? And I left that night so fired up. I was like, those guys were asking me, how long have I been doing comedy? Which means they saw me as a comedian. And comedy is something that I've always wanted to do. So that was one of those things that pushed me to finally do it.
Yeah, yeah. And then we clicked the first time I met you. We clicked that night, and you started coming to the pub and doing other shows. And yeah, you're a great. You're
You
a
know,
great guy, man.
we clicked right away. And John, I must say, you know, I met so many great comedians through you. You know what I mean? I think like all of the comedians that I know right now I met through you. You know what I mean? And
yeah, we had a lot of good times.
And you know, one of the reasons that promote me, that motivate me to promote shows, is the talented comedians that are out there looking to do shows. You know what I mean? You know, several of the comics that have come out of your class, and I've seen them perform, just killed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's great to see that. It's great to see people having access, you know, to develop their skills and the confidence, because without that, most people won't ever take that step. You know what I mean? So what you're doing is huge, man. And you give a lot of comics opportunities with all the open mics and shows you do. And, you know, for everyone, I want to thank you, John Perrotta.
Yes.
We want to thank you too, Mom, because you got this going on in Woonsocket now, and you're picking things up out there, and you're helping Duchess SS and comedians. I saw on the flyer. You're doing a great job out in Woonsocket, man. We wish you well, man. You're a great guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Can I ask?
I'll tell you, Marv. Oh, I'm sorry, Coleen.
Oh, go ahead, hon. Go ahead.
What I was gonna say, Marvin, is I'd like to talk to you further about that. Laughter and Hope Ministries, what we are is we're a Christian comedy outreach ministry. We had a big summer planned. As John mentioned in the intro, we perform at churches, outreach ministries. We've been in the prison systems, both here in Rhode Island and in Massachusetts. And depending upon the size of your theater in the seating, I think that alone warrants a conversation. It absolutely definitely does. Our first event we did at Theater 82 in Cranston. That's a small black box theater if you've ever been there. And it seats like maybe 90 people.
Mm-hmm.
We slammed it to the point where their management team said to me, Mike, we'll work with you again. However, only online sales. We won't do walk up. I've never seen a production company come in here and be this successful on night one. I've never had to turn that many people away ever. To which I told her, that's what happens when God shows up. So we need a theater that can accommodate what we can bring in. So I think that, man, I'd be excited to talk to you about that, Marvin. Right now, I was talking with my partner, Tommy Morin, and we're discussing doing so my pastor friends out there who are listening, don't be surprised when I call you. We're going to be discussing comedy tent revivals in the parking lots of churches that have big parking lots. We come in, we'll set up the tent, the sound stage, the sound system, all the chairs, and just hit it like that. But now, you having a theater is very, very, very interesting to me. I think that could work. I think that could definitely work.
Okay.
Nick Albanese, our dear friend, he owns Last Sicilian Production Company, and he was at Federal Hill Pizza Company, which is the old Castle. Was it John, the Castle Theater? Is that what it was? The Castle.
Castle Theater. Right? I did shows there years ago.
Now they got a mezzanine upstairs, and I told Billy Manzo, Billy, if you listen, I don't know why you didn't listen to me. Do that mezzanine over. You got a mezzanine that was built in 1925. Who has that? No one but you. No one but you. Bring Nick's Last Sicilian Productions in there, and all these theater production companies would be lining up to get in there. Think about that. Performing on a stage that was built in a mezzanine in 1925 would be very cool. Very cool.
Well, you guys gotta hook up.
Absolutely, we do. I want to touch on what Nick was saying earlier at the top, and then I'll give up my talking time because I know I'm running over on time here. Nick was mentioning something about voiceover work. Do we all know who Nancy Cartwright is?
No.
No. There you go, Colleen. On to the bonus round for the washer and dryer. What do you think she gets?
Does it come with a maid that will do my laundry for me? Because I don't want it. I can buy my own.
There you go. Nancy Cartwright gets paid $400,000 an episode. Her residual check every year, $20 million a year. And she's been the only voice of Homer Simpson.
Is that right?
Wow. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, just things I do during the day, a bachelor retired. I was looking up that stuff today.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Who do I call to get started in that?
And then I think Nick and Desi, you were talking about doing accents. You both had that Middle East accent very well. There's a comedian friend of mine. I don't know if you ever booked this guy, John. His name is Michael Young Cho out of New York.
Wow.
He's Korean. So I met him through Nick Albanese. So he calls me up. He's in Rhode Island. So I come to check him out. He was at the Sons of Italy. Man, let me tell you something. I thought they're gonna have to call like the first responders. I was laughing so hard. He does an hour. In the first half hour, he does not break character. He does the Korean accent. Mom and dad, born and raised in Korea, came here. He's born incredible. Then when he hits around that 25-minute to half hour mark, he breaks and tells a different story, and he comes right back at you speaking without the Korean accent. Absolutely hilarious. So if you can do accents, man, that's a double blessing right there.
All I got is my Italian.
It's just the way you talk. It's just the way you talk, John.
That's
not an accent. That's just, oh, brother, we can all do yes. No, that's not an accent. That's just,
Yeah.
It's just the way I talk.
I had a client on my day job one time say to me, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Rhode Island. Are you Italian? No, I'm not Italian. You sound Italian. I said, I'm from Rhode Island. Everybody sounds Italian in Rhode Island.
exactly.
Desi, what's going on with you over there?
I don't know, John. I don't know what's going on over here.
She's funny. I'm
I
telling
can't see
you.
that.
Desi is
I'm trying to stay
hilarious.
afloat over here. I'm over here in the neck of the woods with all the paisans,
You live with all
I
the
gotta give him
paisans
some
over
love.
there? Were you in Johnston?
Yeah, Johnston. Yeah, near Providence.
Do you live in Johnston?
I do. For everybody now that knows that. Thank you.
We'll all be over later on, Desi. We'll all come over.
Thankfully for me, it's a gated community. You know what I mean?
Privileged actor. Sorry.
I wish Nick could do his he's got a funny bit when he does that accent, but I love your bit you do in your act, Nick, when you do the you know the one I'm talking about.
Thanks for you, John. Thank you, my friend.
We won't do that on here, but Nick's got a funny bit. It kind of gets dirty, but
Yeah.
Colleen's already going out.
I was thinking that Nick, the bit that I'm talking about. Instead of you should do Sanskrit. Way more curves.
Yeah, all my Italian friends like that ending piece there. So, but it's funny, Mike, to get back to your point. So the way that I started was, I was in law school and they used to introduce me as the smart comic. And I was like, man, that sucks. Because, the person before you looks funny. And then I get up there and they're like, oh, who's this jerk? Like, hey, everybody, I'm the smart guy. Let me show you how smart I am. So, and I realized that, okay, my material was okay, but I had the crowd, it took them a half a minute to a minute to warm up to me. I'm like, I don't know if that's good enough. So, I talked to John and I was like, actually, Coleen, I talked to your brother and he's just like, he's like, why don't you just do a voice? And, I did a show in Newport and I came in second, one of these like summer exhibits where half the contestants are reading off of cue cards. And meanwhile, you're like perfecting your craft and some guy with a bunch of friends reading off cue cards and drinking Narragansett beer comes in first place. And you're like, that sucks. But one of the judges pulled me aside and he says, hey, instead of telling us about your uncle or telling us about these funny Arab people, why don't you be the funny Arab guy?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
then I go on stage and I start doing the accent, and I just commit to it. I don't break character. I just, I got 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it's just the character. And it was great because I was a tutor and I was a law school student, and people would come up to me after the show and be like, "Hey, Yousiff, you did a great job, but you really need to work on your English." Oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yes, inshallah, in some time I will get it right. And I thought that was, and I got a kick out of that. But, as time went on, I was writing jokes for the character, in character, and I was taking really good observation and funny notes. And I was realizing that I don't want to say I was pigeonholing myself, but I just wasn't having an opportunity to do other things that I wanted to do because that character made it difficult to transition. So, Mike, back to your point where you talked about the Korean gentleman who could flawlessly go back and forth, do 1 hour and then go back into his American self. But when I would do it on stage, people would just get confused. So I would do 15 or 20 minutes, and then after I was like, "Hey, got you guys." And everybody would be like, "Oh, he does a really good American accent." So I could never really find the synergy in doing it. And I said, okay. And then it honestly took me probably 2 years to come up with the confidence to do my set as my American self in my voice and feeling like, okay, I don't look that funny. And there's no tragic story that I'm going to begin with. "Hi, I'm a lawyer." Like, okay. I guess I didn't feel comfortable doing a lot of lawyer jokes because I use comedy as my escape. I didn't want to get wrapped back into being a lawyer. I do that shit all the time. I can talk to my colleagues about lawyer jokes. I don't want to do that with strangers, and that wasn't making me feel good. So believe it or not, the second act of my comedy career started at the Pub on Park with John again. So John actually helped me resurrect my comedy career because I started trying my set as myself. And, some things went great and some things weren't as good. But that's where I got my confidence. And people say all the time, "Oh, well, maybe I should just keep doing certain type of shows, or maybe I should keep traveling." There's nothing wrong with honing your craft and coming in and saying, "Hey, can I get a couple minutes to try something new?" And honestly, I was on the verge of just giving up and just being a one-trick pony in that sense. And I can't tell you how that experience on Pub and Park, just honestly, and it was a lot of comics that were actually giving me feedback. And I said to myself, screw regular people. If comics are giving me constructive feedback, I'm doing something good. And they know my act. They already know what I'm trying to do. So it's about building your act and having that opportunity to do it. So Mike, it's not, and Marvin, it's not just giving new guys the opportunity. It's giving, the old guys the opportunity to try something different. So yeah, I got an opportunity to start doing my set as myself. And Desi, to you, as you start to formulate your set, find something that works and run with it, but don't ever be afraid to change it up, reverse the order, and do something in a totally different setting. So, or in a different context with a different voice. But hey, if the voice works for you, go with it. Go with it and see how far it takes you. And then once you start to get the urge to do something different, I think it was Jim Lawletta, I think a Boston guy that a lot of you know. Yeah. One time I did a show at Nick's Comedy Stop, and I just become a lawyer, and I was working 80 hours a week, and I was so stressed that comedy wasn't fun for me. It was another job. And I did a set, and it didn't go very well. And he pulled me aside. He goes, "Hey, man, I've seen you before." He goes, "It didn't seem like you had a lot of fun up there. And the whole purpose of what we're doing is to have fun, to make people feel good, and for you to feel good. If you don't feel good and you're not having fun, why are you doing this?"
Right.
Exactly.
And that's when I said, I'm going to change up my act to make it the way that I'm having fun with it.
So
Nick, let me ask you, Coleen, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Coleen, you are so polite. You are so polite.
That's because I've been drinking. I've been drinking since like April. It's okay.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. Nick, is your first name Nick? Am I calling you by the wrong first name?
Oh,
No,
Nick.
so my full name is Nikola Samir Yousiff, but I go by Nick Steves, Nick Slade, Yousiff,
Okay. All right.
Nick
I got
Yousiff.
Nick.
Oh,
All right.
and just FYI, there's another Nick Yousiff comedian that lives in LA that I performed with out in Los
Okay.
Angeles.
Oh,
So now
That's awesome.
you were talking about the accent, doing the accent from your native land. Do you still use that accent in your act?
So I do, but not as much. And so it depends the kind of show that I'm doing. So that's a great question. When I do shows it depends on my audience and who I'm playing for. If I'm playing for a Middle Eastern crowd, and it's kind of, I never thought I'd be playing shows for Middle Eastern people. I'm doing shows for 1,000, 1,500 people. I couldn't believe it. Like, what the heck? But you know what? When I do the Aladdin bit and I do my cunnilingus bit, doing an Italian song in character, that doesn't fly with them. So I have to kind of know who my audience is. Because imagine doing the accent with a room filled with people with the same accent. What's so funny? Yeah, his English is perfect. No, it's great. So, it doesn't register with them. So you have to be, and sometimes they may come up and say, hey, are you poking? Because once they know you were born here, they're going to say, are you poking fun at us? So again, I love doing the character, but I'm just selective in how I do it and for what audience.
So I was going to bring up the point, as I don't know how long have you been doing stand-up for?
Since 2010, so 10 years now.
All right, so you got a lot of years under your belt. You're not a Green P rookie just coming off the bench saying, "Put me in, coach." You know what you're doing.
I'm trying to keep my boyish looks though, so I'm trying to.
Dude, I'm trying to make it seem. If the comedy thing doesn't work for you, the lawyer thing doesn't work for you, I think that we can get you on GQ. I'm telling you, I won't see a more handsome
I think he's already done that.
Month long. I was going to say to you, a good case study from her early days would be Margaret Young Cho. When she talks about her mom and dad growing up, she dances back and forth from that character in the accent right back to her perfect English beautifully. Just like my friend Nick Albanese, when he does the one-man play, The Last Sicilian, he's playing all the parts. He plays his mom, his dad, his uncles, and Nick speaks fluent Sicilian. He was conceived in Sicily and born here. So that accent is second nature. And he goes back and forth between them all. So if after 10 years, you know what you're doing.
Right.
If that was something you were struggling with, I would say watch someone like Margaret Young Cho.
Yeah.
Just
for
watch
sure.
how it flows back and forth.
I think the way that I do it now, Mike, is so I don't do it as myself. I do it as a third person. So like I'll talk about my dad or my uncle or like the Arab guy. So whereas before, the way that I was trying to do it was I'm the Arab guy and then and then I turn around, bam, I'm the American guy. And that's what threw people off. So you're right. Now I try to put it as I'm going to tell you about my parents or my father or my mother and do their accent. And then you're right. That's where it really registers.
I can definitely see and hear that in my mind's eye as being absolutely hilarious. Hilarious.
And
I want to go to Coleen.
Yes.
You want to say something else, Nick?
No, I was going to say, do you know Nick Albanese and Nick Yousiff? We have the same first name, Nicola.
Nicola, exactly right.
Spelled the same way. We have the same exact name, Lebanese, and he's Italian.
Yeah,
very close.
Do you know Nick? You're friends with Nick?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's a great guy. I love him. I love him to death.
Nick's one of my best friends. I can say it now because he has said it on Facebook. He let it out of the bag. We filmed a short film. We used my condo here and a couple of other places. So they were here Saturday. Matter of fact, Johnny P came by. We had lights, cameras, boom operators. We had everything in here. So that's going to be really, really cool. I wanted to tell my Coleen story, which I had shared before we had gone on. I was thinking, Coleen, as this show's been going on, about how I've never really met you. But I do remember in the early days at The Great Imposter, I remember you coming in one night. And I said, who is this girl? And they're like, that's Eddie Galvin's sister. And I'm like, no way. That is not Eddie Galvin's sister. No, that's Eddie. I'm like, she is far too beautiful to be related to Eddie Galvin. And don't tell him I said that because he'll beat me up. So we weren't formally introduced. But for those of you watching at home, my production company I had years ago was called Meatball Comedy Stop Productions. And I received an email from Coleen one day. Very nicely written. Hi, Mike. I'm not certain if you know who I am. My name is Coleen, Eddie Galvin's sister. I'd love to do some work with Meatball Comedy Stop. Let's talk about some avails, this and that. So let's say I open this email on a Wednesday. That very Sunday, in the Providence Journal, get the paper dropped off at your door. There's not like a paragraph. is like a whole gigantic page on Coleen Galvin. And right away I said to myself, after this comes out, I'm never going to be able to afford her to book her. And we never put it together. But I've always known who you were, Coleen. I have watched you on YouTube. You are absolutely hilarious.
Oh, thank
Hilarious.
you. Thank you very much.
Coleen had a question for Nick. Didn't you have a question for Nick?
Yeah, no. So the one thing, because I've talked about it before. The reason about, because I want to go back to the accent. Because I teach the class, and I used to teach comedy as a therapeutic tool, working with people going through different traumas, and so the comedy class is very fun for me. The one thing that and Desi, you know this, the one thing that I try to get people to kind of grasp is that you have to, when you're developing your stage persona, you're more successful when you actually are true to yourself. So instead of if you have a character, and there are comedians who do characters and do several characters, but in each character, like John Leguizamo, and he's done a couple of shows where he's done different characters, but in every single character that he creates, there is a piece of him. It's a piece of him. It's maybe somebody that he met or somebody that he was related to, but it's how he sees that person. So it's a lot more, and so I can see how Nick got stuck, because now you just think that, all right, well, I'm just going to be this character, because that character didn't have a personal attachment to you. He was just a guy with an Arabic accent. And so you weren't thinking about, oh, this is somebody I know, I'm going to, see the funny in that. You're thinking about how other people perceive Arabic people, and so that's where, when you have a disconnect, that's I think that's a difficult part, because every one of us, that comedy comes from, like, in your heart, like, seriously, and the stories that you tell, everything is very personal. It's why I couldn't have anyone write material for me, because I'm not personally attached to it, So that I think that's why. But I had another observation, Nick. When you first started, the reason why you get up on stage and you would struggle so much, because you get up on stage and, all right, here's this young, good-looking lawyer guy in law school. They didn't introduce you as the smart guy. I was like milfing it all out over there and thinking, oh my God, like stop it, he has a mother, like somewhere he has a mother. And but I faced the same thing. I did a show once at the Comedy Connection, and but I had already learned how to work around it, and you have now too. But if you go up on stage and you don't seem to have a physical a physical impediment, you're not older, you're not heavier, you're not you're a good looking guy, you go up there and people actually are like, get the fuck away, only because, like, at first they're like, I can't relate to you. Part of being a comedian is looking at the audience and saying, we're a part of one community, no matter what community it is, we're all on this ride together. And it's really difficult for a person who is intimidating, or whether it be looks, whether it be size, you have to be aware of who you are and how people see you. There's the way that you see yourself, and then there's the way that other people perceive you. You've had a long journey where now, all right, you get it, and you can work with the audience. But when you struggle at first, if you might not realize that that's how the audience is perceiving you.
You're 100% right. So, and just a couple points to add to that. So, first of all, being a lawyer, I think, makes me a better comedian, and being a better comedian makes me a better lawyer, because you're always kind of thinking back and forth of audience perception. How do I get my point across? But when you're a speaker and you have an audience, whether it's a jury, whether it's a comedy crowd, you want to reach baseline. How do I tug at their emotional strings so that we're all on the same plane? Yeah, we're not all equal, and we come from different backgrounds and different religions and races, but can our comedy be the absolute truth in the room, that we can all agree on some things to feel good and to figure out quirky things about life that we can all appreciate? And damn it, when you get up there and you look intimidating, and I don't want to play the role of a victim. No, life's been very good to me. I'm very fortunate and super lucky. But my point was, but when I get up there, how do I make the couple that's on a date, the older couple, how do I make the people that are the young kids, how do I get them all, how do I get everybody on the same page so that when you're the conductor in front of a symphony, you got all the emotions, you're tugging at everybody's strings equally, and not having one guy go, F that guy, or some girl going, oh, he thinks he's probably so cool, or he thinks he's so hot, or he thinks whatever. And then you're like, no, let's get past that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, a funny cultural joke about how silly some things are. And why do we have for example, America. America is so advanced technologically, but we have some weird customs and culture. Like we rely on a groundhog to tell us if winter is going to last another 6 weeks. Do you understand how stupid and ridiculous that sounds to somebody outside of America? And that's so funny, but I can't go up there as lawyer Nick and make the case. And as a lawyer, when I go up there, and actually this is why I'm forever grateful to comedy and to all my comedy teachers and everybody that's helped me along the way. You're going to have an audience, you're going to have a client. Forget the audience, forget the jury, forget the judge. You got a client that's sitting in front of you. And if you're in a slick suit and you're young and you got your hair looking a certain way, why the hell are they going to pay you $5,000 or $10,000 to take their case? Why are they going to help you? Why are they going to work with you and pay you money to address their biggest problem? You got to know how to reach them baseline, how to get to a part where you're both on the same plane and they can see you and they feel your humanity and they feel that you truly understand what they're going through and that you can really help them. Not just that you talk slick, have a nice suit and charge a certain amount. And comedy's the same. Comedy and law, believe me when I tell you, they're so similar, it's scary.
Except you get paid less for comedy.
That's true.
That's true. But comedy is a lot more fulfilling in some sense because,
yeah, if I could practice law, I might not be doing the comedy. I'm just saying.
Sometime when they pay. John, by the way, did you always pay cash to your attorney?
I don't remember.
He folds it up and he puts it to him under the ankle.
Most of the time was cash.
Let me remind you guys,
Beautiful.
this is being recorded.
What's that, Desi? It kind of cut out.
I said, let me remind you guys, this is being recorded.
Oh, tax reasons, yeah.
No. As an attorney, I just don't want the check to bounce. That's why I want to take cash because I don't want to start working and then find out it's going to bounce.
Yeah.
I'm never
you must have
touching
had
people
that
money
happen,
again.
right?
It's happened a few times.
We're gonna wrap things up. This has been a great show. We could go for another hour because you guys are great guests, man. I'm having a ball listening to everybody going back and forth. Marv, you got the LOL July 25th comedy show from your club out there. Wish you the best. You got anything else you want to add to this to wrap this up?
Well, I enjoyed hearing all the conversation. I enjoyed being a part of it. Nick, I would love to get you at LOL Saturdays. Mike, I would love to get you at LOL Saturdays. Denise, I would love, her name's Denise, right?
Desi.
It's okay.
I would love to get you
I've been called worse.
Oh, man. And Coleen, I would love to have you. And John, I know you're staying low because of the pandemic and everything, but as soon as you're out and back out there, I'm going to have you here. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. And Mike, we definitely can talk about what you were discussing earlier. I would love to work with you on something like that.
Hey, great having you, Marv. You're a great guy. All you guys are great friends of mine. So
Can I mention one more thing,
You're
John?
a great guy, John. You're like the nucleus.
What are you gonna say, Carl?
I have one more thing to mention. There's another comedian. Her name is Jess Miller, and she's actually created a group called The Kind Squad. You can get an invitation to it. What it does is it takes anonymous calls for help. So she put together 3,000 art kits for kids who are in domestic violence shelters right now. They got a little playhouse for a different shelter. There was a person who had a traumatic injury and is in recovery, so they got her like a basket. So what it does is each member, it shows up on your Facebook, and it's under the Kind Squad page, and they figured out, like, if 14 people donate $3.40. You don't have to always give, but maybe it's something that, I'm not going to get a nice coffee, I'll donate that. So for anybody seeing this, you can private message me or private message Jess Miller, and it's called the Kind Squad. You can look for the page. I just found it, and already, I'm only like a week and a half in, and that is the only thing on Facebook that is saving me from wanting to stab people. So, it's called, yes, no. So it's called the Kind Squad. So it's the last thing that I want to say, but it's such an awesome page.
All right, Carl and Mike Cronin. I know you two guys since '91, so you guys are two of my all you guys are my great friends. But these two I've known for a long time, 30 years almost. 30 years. So I love you, Coleen.
Shut your mouth. You've known me for
I love
10.
all you guys. But Coleen, you're the bomb. Mike Cronin, bad boy of comedy, Laughter and Hope Ministries. Great having you. You got anything you want to say to wrap this up?
I'll tell you, John, once again, I'm sitting in the pocket, enjoying this conversation, and I feel like my mom and dad just said, you got to turn off Rowan and Martin's laughing. It's time to go to bed. I'm having too much fun. I wish I could continue this conversation. It was a great time. Thank you for having me on. Coleen, it was great to finally get, after 30 years of knowing who you were.
Shut up, 10 years. 10 years.
10 years. I love your facial expression.
I would say Jesus Christ, but you're like, yes, Jesus Christ. I've known you for 30 years. No.
It was great to finally get to meet you and have a conversation. I look forward to having many more. Desi, it was great talking with you. Nick, great talking with you. Marv, I enjoyed talking with you also. My email address, if you all want to check it down, is very easy. It's mike@laughterandhope.com. And you can also visit us online at that same, laughterandhope.com. I pray God's favor over all of you. We're going to get through this. God will lead the way. God bless you all. Coleen, hit me up on Facebook. I'm very interested to learn more about the kindness page you just talked about. And I have some friends that would definitely buy some hats from you. And if you can rock out one of these for me, man.
Oh, I do those all the time, yeah. But when you see my page, could you just skip over any of the ones that say I've blocked somebody, because it usually has a lot of swears in it. And because of the God thing, maybe I don't want you to be offended, but I do tell people certain things. So just skip over those posts.
It's not happen.
Yeah, they don't happen.
Desi.
Yes.
What are you going to say in Johnston? What are you going to say to wrap it up?
I keep it clean. No, I really appreciate the opportunity to meet all of you, and definitely welcome an opportunity to reconnect and talk some more about some possible collaborations, or just get to know you guys a little bit. And just really appreciate you, John. You're always a great advocate. Thank you.
I'll get you back on stage when this thing clears up.
You let me know you love your people, call my people.
Yeah. I got your number. I'll call you and I'll tell you I'm going to be here on stage. And that's it. You're going to be there. We got Nick, Yousiff. What are you going to say to wrap it up? You guys are all great guests, by the way.
Thank you. Well, first of all, everybody stay safe, and hopefully this will be over sooner rather than later. Desi, we just met, and I've never heard your comedy, but your impression of John is so spot on that I can't wait to see what you've got in store for us and everyone else down the road. But this last message really goes out to Coleen, Mike, Marvin, and John. It's not just about you guys telling jokes and being so great at it. It's you guys doing the promoting, having the energy to do it, and putting in all the time and bringing so many people together. A lot of people can get jaded. A lot of people it's easy to just think about your set, but for you guys to take on a lot of that stuff and to have causes, Coleen, like you just spoke of, it's really awesome to see that. And I just want you to know I so appreciate it. And if you guys weren't doing it the way that you were doing it, you know, somebody else might look at this and say, you know, maybe this isn't worth it. But you guys, to have the energy to do what you do and to do it in so many different forms and platforms, I'm proud of all of you, and I'm happy to